Hi guys, I'm EVM and welcome back. Now, today I want to talk about the charging network. Funnily enough, because, we don't talk about it enough. But it's something which has been highlighted to me recently by my wife a few months ago, and on a very recent tweet as well by a few other people. So it's clearly a thing, and it's about how safe some people feel when charging their EV in a public car park at night. And if you think about it, I don't know why it's never occurred to me before, and many people as well. In over 5 years of electric car driving, this has never come up in my mind as being a thing. But now I guess you've got more of the general public getting into EVs. It has been highlighted as a concern, and it's effectively, if you're in a dark unlit car park charging your car at night for 20-30 minutes, a public car park, you might feel a little unsafe. Now let me clarify what I mean. This picture I'm about to show you is from a long journey I did about, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when I was in the Nissan Leaf, and I think it was a polar charger, and it effectively was pitch black in the car park. Here's the picture now. The only light you can see is from nearby roads and effectively from the screen of the charger itself. The camera is obviously doing its best in a low light environment, so it was darker than that when you were there, if you know what I mean. It was effectively around the back of a hotel, a polar charger, and in a completely unlit part of that car park. It was like an overflow car park, I guess. And again, it never occurred to me at the time, but I was sat there for, what would it be? I don't know, let's say half an hour, I can't remember exactly, in the Leaf, in a pitch black car park. And I think many people in that circumstance would feel very uneasy, unsafe. It's not just the fact you're in a car park, and it was a hotel car park as well, which is open 24/7, so you can obviously walk into the hotel, but you're effectively walking around the back and side of a hotel to get to the entrance in pitch black. And that in itself is a little bit dodgy, I guess, if you look at it from that way. And then, of course, you've got to do the return journey, unplug your car, plug your car in. So there's parts, I guess, through the whole process where you feel a little bit vulnerable. Now, what highlighted it to me first, a few months ago anyway, was when my wife was doing a long journey. Now, we had, 4.5 years of being in the Nissan Leaf. And in that entire time, she never, ever took the Leaf out on a long journey by herself. So that's, when I say long journey, I mean going beyond the car's range. So you have to use the public charging network. So in that entire 4.5 years, she never did it once. Mainly because she didn't want the faff of using the app or the RFID card. Occasional ones not working, of course, which she'd experienced when we were all driving or doing a journey. So she always took the other car. Now, though, we've got the Model 3, which has, of course, the supercharger network, the easiest network by a country mile in the whole world, let alone the UK, to use. It's just plug and play. So I thought, well, now we've got this. Surely you're going to take this on a long journey. And she said, no, I'm not. Well, why? I've shown you what to do. It's literally plug and play. It's 3-4 times faster than the Leaf, so you're not going to be, hanging around as long. And she said, well, because on this specific journey she was doing, on the way back at night, she would have had to charge a supercharger that we'd used before, so she was familiar with it. And it was effectively, again, round the back of the hotel. I think it was 1, maybe 2 pairs of superchargers. And at night, she said, I'm not going there. I am not going there at night. I just don't feel safe enough. There was no one around. And I said, it was sort of lit, but basically she just didn't feel safe, so she didn't go. She took the other car, even in this. So this isn't just public charging networks like Electric Highway and Polar and other stuff. It's Tesla ones as well. It's all of them. And that kind of highlights it to me because she's very much an experienced electric car driver. We've done tons of long journeys, as in, where I've been there as well. So she is an experienced EV owner, and she still didn't want to take it by herself because of the safety aspect of going to certain car parks at night. I mean, it was probably a safe place to be, But I guess when it's dark in any car park, it can make people feel uneasy. Another person that highlighted it very recently, which has kind of made me do this video as well, was Maddie Moat, who you may recognise from Fully Charged. She posted up this, I'll stick it up now, basically saying the same thing. Does anybody else feel uneasy about charging at night? You know, it's not, you know, it doesn't make me feel like I want to use it, blah, 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 blah. So this isn't just a one-off thing. It's clearly something that I think people are concerned about. Please excuse the fact that I'm effectively doing this whilst I'm driving home from work, but needs must. You know, we're all back to normal now, aren't we, in terms of working and school? So, yeah, it's just how it is. Now, as I said, it does highlight the point which many people it never occurred to before. I have never thought, oh, I feel unsafe here. But when I think back, for example, that polar charger that I showed you at the beginning of the video, I'll put the picture up again. That was, like I said, pitch black on my own, and yeah, it makes me feel slightly uneasy just thinking about it, even though it never occurred to me at the time, probably because I was making a stupid video about something. So is this something which needs to be thought about, legislated perhaps? I mean, who ultimately is responsible for this? It's the car park owners, I guess. It's not really so much the charge networks themselves. Some of them, I guess, could say we need certain requirements to put our chargers in. And I should point out that we're only talking about rapid chargers here, not fast chargers, because fast chargers are typically would only be a destination. There would be a destination charger. So if you're driving to, I don't know, let's say a restaurant, and using their destination charger, their fast charger, you're not bothered about what the car park is so much, because you're just parking up and going somewhere. You're not going to be sat in your car or any of that. You're going to that place for a specific reason. So this is just about rapid charging, where you effectively just want the fuel as quickly as possible and then get on with your journey. Nighttime is obviously where I think it's going to be most problematic. And let's face it, in the middle of winter, it gets dark at what, 4 o'clock here? Maybe a little earlier. So it's not just those driving past midnight or something like that. It's going to be those that are just driving home in winter potentially. Now, what I want to do now is give you another example of a journey that I've done that kind of would fit that, yeah, I know what you mean, sort of argument. We were driving up to Inverness, doing the North Coast 500, and we were just stopping once in a Kia e-Niro, I believe. This is the video of us now, and we basically stopped to go and get something to eat and charge at the same time. So basically we went to a pub. I think we were about an hour, mainly because we were eating, not charging. And yeah, it was nice. We had a meal, we came out, the car was finished nearly, and we just set off. And incidentally, we did the same journey in a normal petrol car, and we stopped at the same place for the same amount of time. But my point is, if we'd have gone to that charger when that pub was shut, so I'm guessing after 11 p.m, at night time basically, if we'd have gone there when it was closed, we would have had to sit in the car. I mean, I'm not sure how much you can see from that clip now, I'll put it back up, but there is nothing more that you could do. There's no town centre, there's no shops, it's just surrounded by houses, and it's a relatively newly built pub. So you're going to be sat in the car. I guarantee if my wife had to charge there and the pub was closed, she wouldn't have been happy at all, because she's basically going, yeah, I'm sat in a car park in the dark by myself and there's no one around. You cannot drive off when you're charging a car. For obvious reasons, it would rip apart the car and the charge point. So you have to physically unplug the car to be able to drive away. So you've got no, plan B, although you are in a locked car, that's still going to make people feel uneasy if there were people walking around, because you're still going to have to get out of the car to unplug it, aren't you? So I'm not sure what the solution to this is ultimately, because when we get to proper mass EV adoption levels, we are going to need lots of chargers in lots of car parks to make it work. So saying only put them in secure car parks is, well, it's just not going to happen, is it? That's unrealistic. So I guess what we need to do is just maybe think about it a bit more when they're going into car parks. When a charger company is saying, right, we're going to put some in here, I think an absolute must is it must be fully lit. Being in a completely pitch black car park using a charger, I think certainly today in the UK anyway, is ridiculous. So that's the first thing. CCTV perhaps? I don't know about that one. I think that might be a bit unrealistic. You could logically, especially as we're talking about rapid chargers here, put CCTV near the charge point. I mean, Alpha Power, which is a charge network, they're not very big, but they are around. They've got them, I believe, built into the chargers themselves. This is a picture of a tweet they posted up when somebody tried to use their charger to pump their tyres up. So clearly it's a viable option, but it would increase costs. I guess it needs to be monitored to an extent. You know, someone would have to make sure that it's still recording, etc., etc. So I guess we can't rely on CCTV, and ultimately it wouldn't stop it happening, but it would be a deterrent. You can't really put chargers next to the door of whatever it is that's going in. You know, for example, a supermarket or a services, because what happens then is that people block the charge points. We've been saying this for a few years. If you put the chargers next to the door, people are going to park there in a normal car because, well, they're just lazy, and that's what happens. So there are conflicts here. You know, we don't want it near the door because it'll get blocked, but I do want it near the door because I feel safer. It's a really tough thing to try and fix. See, in the future, 5, 10, 15, certainly 20 years from now, the EV landscape in terms of charging will be very different. I suspect we'll get more of things like this, which is just charging hubs, where you've got, I don't know, let's say a dozen chargers, you've got maybe a shop or two, potentially manned, fully lit, definitely cameras. So effectively you've got a petrol station. People are happy with petrol stations now, usually manned, definitely fully lit, definitely cameraed, and people are used to it and they feel as secure as you realistically can be in a public place at night time. So this is a rare thing, and as I said, I think in the future that's what we're going to end up with, effectively just petrol stations with EV chargers in them. But for now, and in the other places that won't be like hubs, we do need to think about this a bit. It is a very difficult conundrum really, because it's unrealistic to expect every car park to be secure. You know, can you put a fence around your car park please? That's not going to happen. But I think it is reasonable to expect at least a fully lit one. So yeah, it's one of those problems which does kind of go against what a lot of people are asking for. We want lots of chargers in every car park, but only the safe ones please. That won't work, will it? So I'm not sure what the solution is to this, other than petrol station type hubs, I guess. And I should point out that this is a very rare event. If you've not got an EV and you're concerned now, if I've just put this in your head and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, don't be. How many times do you envisage you'll be having to charge your electric vehicle at night? I'm talking when things are closed and you're sat in your car. Traditionally, if I'm stopping at, let's say, services to charge up, I'll go in the services. I may sit in my car, but I'm in a car park with many other people coming and going, even at night. So this is a very rare thing. I really wouldn't worry about it too much. But it is an interesting question, I think, and something which I think needs to be, again, maybe not legislated, but some thought needs to be put into it for when new sites go in. For example, Instavolt announced that they're going to put rapid chargers at McDonald's drive-thrus, I believe. They're perfect because they're usually busy places. Even if they shut at night, they're usually fully lit and there's cameras and stuff, and it's about as safe as you can realistically expect a car park to be. So what do you think? Is there an answer to this? Is it a storm in a teacup, a mountain out of a molehill, or is it a genuine concern that is now coming to light due to, like I said, the general public actually starting to buy EVs and use the charging networks? I guess this highlights the importance of the electric highway, which is Ecotricity's network that are only allowed at services. Because let's face it, they're in the best position, the safest position, but they're the most unreliable network by a considerable margin. So, yeah, what do you think? What should happen for this? Should there be any government regulations? You know, charge points must have this, this and this. Will it increase costs for chargers, for charge networks? Potentially, I guess, but is it unreasonable to expect maybe CCTV and full lighting to cover a £25,000 rapid charger, or a pair of them? You'd think they'd want to put some sort of security in place for their own benefit, stop it being vandalised or something. So, yeah, let me know what you think, really, because I think this is something which does need a little bit of attention. Now it's been highlighted by more than one person, by many people. When we get to the stage of proper mass EV adoption and you've got people using chargers that cannot charge at home, because that's the big one, isn't it? That's where the public charging infrastructure really has to be solid. Then you're going to get a lot more people using chargers, you're going to get a lot more people charging at night. So it's probably not so much of an issue now. Very minor percentage of charging, like a point something percent of charging. But when it gets to, as I said, proper mass EV adoption, it's going to become an issue. Okay, so that's pretty much it, really. Let me know what you think. This is more of a, what do you think about this problem, and what solution would you put forward than just a statement video? It's a head scratcher for sure. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and all that malarkey that all YouTube channels ask you to do. And I know it gets kind of boring and a bit white noise at the end of every YouTube video. Please like and subscribe. But it does make a difference, it really does. So, right, thanks for watching. Bye.